The longer I have walked with the Lord, the more I have realized that distractions are one of the main weapons Satan uses. From the very beginning, his tactics have been to divert attention from God's truth. In the Garden of Eden, Satan distracted Eve with the allure of forbidden knowledge, and ever since, he's been using distractions to blind humanity from what truly matters. Today, in these end times, his strategy hasn't changed. If anything, it has become more sophisticated and relentless. Consider what's happening in the world right now. It's one thing after another. Last month, the world was consumed with the election. People were glued to their screens, arguing, debating, and dividing over political candidates. Before that, it was the shocking arrest of P. Diddy, rapper embroiled in scandal. And now, the focus has shifted to the escalating conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The sitting president has authorized Ukraine to use American-made long-range missiles to strike within Russia, a move that many see as a step closer to World War III. Next month, it will be something else entirely. The cycle never ends, and the enemy is laughing as he keeps the world distracted and blind. The cycle never ends, and the enemy is laughing as he keeps the world distracted and blind. Every breaking news story, every heated debate, every social media frenzy, these are the tools he uses to divert our attention from the most important question of all. Where will I spend eternity? It's a never-ending carousel of distractions. Today, it's an election. Tomorrow, it's a war. The next day, it's a financial crisis. The enemy's goal is not to solve these problems, but to keep us so consumed by them that we forget we are eternal beings. While the world argues about policies, borders, and ideologies, the enemy celebrates every moment we fail to reflect on the condition of our souls. He knows that if he can keep us focused on the temporary, we'll never consider the eternal. You are not going to be on this earth forever. That is a fact. So why do people spend more time preparing for the things of this world and this life rather than for life after death? What is it about us as human beings that we behave and act as though we are going to live forever? Why do we put off what is most important to focus on what is temporary? The most important question for you and me is this: am I right with the Lord? Think about the frenzy surrounding the recent election. People became completely consumed by it. Everyone knows you're a Republican and everyone knows you're a Democrat, but does anyone know you're a Christian? People were putting homemade signs on their lawns, attending rallies, and donating to political parties. Yet how much of that same energy was spent on sharing the gospel or living out their faith? Social media was filled with debates, accusations, and conspiracy theories. Families argued, friendships ended, and entire communities were divided. Satan loves this because it shifts our focus from eternity to the temporary. We forget that our citizenship is in heaven, Philippians 3:20, not tied to any earthly kingdom or leader. Yes, elections have consequences, but how many of us prayed as fervently as we argued? How many of us sought God's will above all? The enemy uses these events to keep us from seeing the bigger picture, that no human leader will bring ultimate peace or salvation. Only Jesus can. Even beyond the election results, the aftermath of division leaves scars in relationships. How many people have severed ties with loved ones because of differing political views? Satan thrives in this chaos, as it erodes the unity that God calls us to as His people. We must remember that our ultimate allegiance is to Christ, not a political party. Let's ask ourselves, are we more passionate about defending our faith or our political stance? Before the election, the news was dominated by the arrest of P. Diddy, a man who has symbolized wealth, fame, and success, became another headline in the endless stream of scandals. People dissected the details, speculated about his downfall, and consumed it like entertainment. But here's the truth. These stories are distractions. They keep us entertained and numb to what really matters. We live in a culture that thrives on celebrity worship, and Satan uses this idolatry to keep our eyes off Christ. Instead of being captivated by the Word of God, we're captivated by the drama of this world. Consider how much time we spend consuming these stories. Each moment spent dwelling on the fall of a celebrity is a moment we could spend dwelling on the promises of God. Romans 12:2 reminds us, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." When we focus on the temporary, we miss the eternal. Now, the world's attention is fixed on Russia and Ukraine. The sitting president's decision to authorize the use of American-made long-range missiles by Ukraine has escalated tensions to a dangerous level. Experts are warning of the potential for World War III. Fear is gripping nations, and uncertainty is in the air. But here's the question: are we as Christians responding in faith or fear? Jesus warned us in Matthew 24, verses 6 and 7. "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come." The enemy uses these global crises to paralyze us with fear and keep us distracted from God's kingdom work. It is easy to get caught up in the constant stream of news updates and debates about these events. But as believers, we must remember that God is sovereign over all nations and conflicts. Isaiah 46:10 declares, "I make known the end from the beginning, from ancient times, what is still to come. I say, my purpose will stand, and I will do all that I please." Let's rest in the assurance that God's plans will prevail, even when the world seems chaotic. And what will it be next month? A new scandal, a new crisis, a new reason for the world to panic and turn away their attention from God. The cycle continues, and life slips away while people remain blind to the truth. It's not just global events that keep us distracted. Look at the consumer-driven world we live in. Here is your Netflix. Watch TV and let your life pass away. Binge one episode, then another. And before you know it, hours have turned into days and days into years. Here is your social media. Scroll nonstop. Compare your life to others. Chase likes and validation. Let your purpose slip through your fingers as you drown in endless content. Here is your new mobile phone. Use it, upgrade it, live for it. Be so consumed by the latest technology that you forget to connect with God and the people around you. Buy this, buy that. Chase material possessions. Work yourself to exhaustion for things that will rust and fade away. All the while, life is passing you by. You grow older, and before you know it, your days are gone. And what will you have to show for it? A lifetime spent chasing things that don't matter. James 4:14 says, "What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. This life is fleeting. We only get one life, and every second we waste on distractions is a second we can never get back." This is hard to hear, but it's the truth. The enemy's goal is to keep you so busy, so entertained, and so distracted that you never stop to consider what really matters. Even the rise of algorithms designed to keep us hooked is a part of this strategy. Social media and entertainment platforms thrive on keeping our attention at all costs. Every moment spent scrolling or binge-watching is a moment we could invest in our spiritual growth, our families, or reaching out to others in love. The enemy is subtle but effective in stealing our most precious resource, time. So what really matters in this life? Jesus gives us the answer in Matthew 22, verses 37 to 40. Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself." All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Loving God with all your heart, soul, and mind means putting Him above everything else. It means surrendering your distractions, your idols, and your busyness to Him. It means prioritizing prayer, worship, and time in His Word, not as an afterthought, but as the central focus of your life. When was the last time you truly gave God your undivided attention? When was the last time you sat in His presence without rushing, without checking your phone, without your mind wandering to 1,000 other things? When was the last time you loved Him with your whole being? The truth is, we often treat God as a backup plan rather than the Lord of our lives. We cry out to Him when we're in trouble, but neglect Him when things are going well. We fit Him into our schedules instead of building our schedules around Him. This isn't love, it's convenience. And the question we must ask ourselves is this: does God have my heart, or does He just have my leftovers? Loving your neighbor as yourself means stepping outside of your self-centered world and seeing others through God's eyes. It means more than being polite or kind when it suits you. It means putting their eternal destiny above your personal comfort. Are you willing to inconvenience yourself to share the gospel? Are you willing to step out in faith and risk rejection to tell someone about Jesus? How many people in your life are on the brink of eternity without Christ while you remain silent? Every conversation you avoid, every opportunity you miss, could be the difference between life and death for their souls. Does that reality move you? Or have you become numb to it? This is what truly matters. Not the latest headline, not the newest gadget, not the endless pursuit of comfort and entertainment. What matters is loving God with everything you have and loving people enough to point them to Christ. This is the purpose for which you were created. Yet how often do we live as though this life is all there is, chasing temporary things that will be meaningless when we stand before God? We need to realign our priorities daily. Psalm 90:12 says, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." Life is not a guarantee. It's a fleeting gift. Every breath you take is another chance to glorify God and make an eternal impact. But how many of those breaths are wasted on trivial pursuits? How much of your life is consumed with things that have no eternal value? Take a moment to reflect on your life. Are you truly living for what matters? Or are you letting distractions steal your days? The enemy thrives on distraction. He doesn't need you to reject God outright. He just needs you to be too busy, too tired, too distracted to focus on Him. The enemy's greatest victory is when he convinces you to trade eternal treasures for temporary pleasures. Imagine standing before God at the end of your life. Will you be able to say, "I loved you with all my heart, soul, and mind"? Will you be able to say, "I loved my neighbor as myself"? Or will you stand there with regret, realizing you spent your life on things that didn't matter? The good news is, that it's not too late to change. Today is the day to surrender your distractions, your idols, and your busyness. Choose to love God wholeheartedly. Choose to love others selflessly. Choose to live for what truly matters, because nothing else will matter in the end.